Justice for resource.
Yes, I will see you through the smoking flames on the front.
Marilyn Monroe is one of the most iconic sex symbols that some young women look up to, especially younger Instagram models. She's often looked to as a symbol of beauty and grace. You can see her in shirts, magazine covers, and in all other forms of media. However, upon closer analysis of her person, she honestly wasn't all that great. There hasn't been any real accomplishments other than maybe being the first thought. She didn't invent anything like Hedy Lamarr, she didn't discover anything of value like Madame Curie, and she sure wasn't a major revolutionary or warrior like Joan of Arc. At best, she was merely a woman who used her looks and body to gain the attention from the many simps of her day. We see her everywhere, on shirts, on TV, on old magazines, etc. All she did was play a hot woman in a movie, nothing else really of significance. At the surface, she's a happy-go-lucky woman with a bright future ahead of her. Yet when we peel away the sunshine smiles and skimpy clothes, she was a broken whore with several failed marriages under her belt and a major druggie. If we take a moment and examine her for what she really was, she was nothing but a broken woman crying out for love and attention. She had multiple failed marriages, none of which ever made it past 5 years. She was a pillhead and never could quite get her shit together. She had a troubled life and an unstable personality. Born Norma Jean Mortensen in 1926, she was in a broken family that migrated from the Midwest to Los Angeles. She took her mother's last name Baker, and from that moment on she was Norma Jean Baker. She was placed in several foster homes and an orphanage. She was finally placed up for adoption in the late 30s during the Great Depression. Sadly, she was molested by her adoptive father and spent the next year and a half living with relatives and family friends throughout the Los Angeles and Compton areas. In her teen years, she was about to live back in the orphanage before she married the factory worker James Doherty. She thought she would settle in nicely as a housewife. Sadly, she succumbed to the bored housewife syndrome during the marriage. Funny how that resonates with so many women these days, doesn't it? Her husband was shipped off to the Pacific during World War II and she got a job working at a munitions factory. She met a photographer and later quit her job, working at the factory in early 1945. During that time, she took classes and began to pursue a career as an actress and a model. Throughout the 50s, her career as an actress took off and she was one of the biggest and most popular actresses of her day. However, once again, scratching the surface and digging deeper into her personal life, she had issues with her husband, Joe DiMaggio, in 20th Century Fox. Her second marriage to Joe, I add, didn't last 9 months due to allegations of abuse. It wasn't until the 60s that her health and career started to decline. She had a couple of movies that didn't do well from her early days. She developed a severe addiction to painkillers, she had painful gallstones, and her marriage to her third husband, Arthur Miller, ended in yet another divorce. Her drug addiction was so severe that her makeup had to be applied on her face when she was asleep. She spent a week in a hospital to detox her body. It wasn't until August of 1962 that she locked herself away in her home of Brentwood, Los Angeles. Her housekeeper woke up at 3 a.m. in the morning and discovered the door locked and phoned her doctors. Her psychiatrist broke in through the window and found her lying on the bed unresponsive. It wasn't until her physician came in that she was officially pronounced dead. A toxicology report from the LAPD found that she had died of a drug overdose. The cause of death was barbiturate poisoning. Further reports included chloral hydrate and of a pentobarbital in her blood and her liver. Empty medicine bottles were found next to her bed. The possibility that Monroe had accidentally overdosed was ruled out because the dosages in her body were several times the legal limit. The deputy coroner concluded that due to lack of evidence of foul play, she may have committed suicide. Isn't it strange that many women who have actually accomplished something like Madame Curie are rarely ever talked about, yet a woman like Marilyn Monroe is a cultural icon, a woman whose claim to fame was something as simple as posing for photos and playing in a couple dozen movies. She may have taken classes for it. A lot of people do. That doesn't automatically make them great or noteworthy. Marilyn Monroe was nothing more than a broken woman. Behind the facade that she propagated, she merely was a woman who someone found at the right time. Don't take my word for it. Type her name on a search engine and read her bio for yourself and you'll see what I mean. Look at how many young girls idolize her. Look at how the Simpson Manginas of the time idolize her. She did all this before the internet was even a thing. She did all this during the era of transistor computers and ham radios. Just do the research yourself and observe the similarities. That's all I have. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or leave a donation to my Patreon. Links will be in the description below, and thank you.